You are listening to the Justin Feyereisen Radio Show. Before he directed the Best Picture film, The Shape of Water, before he won the Best Director film, Guillermo del Toro made one of the best Kaiju movies. Because besides just having this giant Kaiju, giant monster destroying cities, he's like, what if they build robots? And have giant robots fight giant monsters to defend Earth. And even if this movie was terrible, which it is not, it would still have giant monsters fighting giant robots, which would still be a very good guilty pleasure movie. But this movie does the monsters justice, it does the robots justice, it has very good characters. Came out in July of 2013, and it has Charlie Hunnam, Idris Elba, Charlie Day, Ron Perlman, and like I said, it's giant monsters fighting giant robots. It's Kaijus versus Jaegers, and the sequel comes out on Friday. I am very excited, but if this movie came out in 2013, why are we waiting 5 years to get a sequel? It could be worse. It could be Avatar, where you go from 2009 and then 2020. And I'm like, why is it going to take us 11 years to an Avatar movie that's the highest grossing movie of all time? Come on, James Cameron. But Pacific Rim is... Guillermo del Toro has this specific directing style. And Pacific Rim is a visually stunning movie. They mentioned in the DVD extras that he wanted it to feel very much like a comic book movie, which you have these bright colors, but then you also have gloomy colors, and that contrast between the bright colors of the Jaegers, the bright neons of these big cities in Hong Kong and Sydney, and the other places where they go, this contrast, and you have the monsters, they're grays, but they've also got like neon acid breath and stuff. So this is very cool. And just how much work went on with the visuals. And again, DVD extras are your friend, and they have surprisingly a lot of Blu-ray extras. This is one of the films where I got on Black Friday right after it came out. And this is a film I saw twice in the theaters, once in 3D, and I loved it. And it's every kid's dream of giant robots fighting giant monsters. I don't know how many times I'm going to say it, but if that excites you, you'll like this movie. If you don't care about giant monsters versus giant robots, you don't need to see this movie. But I really like this movie, and I'm really much forward to a sequel. They have great action moments. It's a visually stunning movie. They also have a surprisingly great comedic moments, where you have one of these scientists that's like, I love kaijus, and he's got the kaiju tattoos, and he can name them all, and he's just talking about, oh, remember that one time when this kaiju did this? And he's like, but people died. Oh, but it was really cool. And he wants to connect his brain to one of these kaiju brains the same way that the people that pilot the giant robots, the Jaeger pilots, because these robots are so big and so massive, they have to link their brain with another person, and then you need two people to pilot each robot, and they have their brains connected. So he's like, we can learn a lot from these monsters just by connecting our brains to them. And he has a lot of very comedic moments. And then there's this Hannibal Chow character played by Ron Perlman, and he's like, how about we harvest their bones and sell them as bone powder? And maybe there's some effects of this where he's harvesting parasites off them, and he's trying to enterprise off these giant monsters that these giant robots are killing in the middle of the city. And they have great comedic moments between these two characters. And it's a great action movie, it's a great comedy. But because they have some very shallow characters in this movie, they're all fully developed. But in a movie like this, Pacific Rim, with giant monsters fighting giant robots, nobody's going to dress up as any of these characters for Halloween, but they serve the story, they do a good job for the story. you might have to see it 2 or 3 times to really invest in the characters, but you invest in the giant monsters, you invest in the giant robots, and you invest in let's fight each other. And I give Pacific Rim an 8.5 out of 10